Welcome to another episode of Tech Talk. I'm your host, Steve Santamouris, and I'm joined by El Jefe, the boss, Mario Zaki. What's going on, Mario?
Hi, Steve. How are you? Long time no talk to.
We're next door to each other. We actually moved into the new offices, so we're yeah, we haven't shot in a while. But so this episode is actually with Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and basically what we're going to be doing is sending out a podcast every Thursday for the month of October. And this one is actually very important. Mario's actually sent out a video on this topic to all of our clients because we're getting more and more calls on this, and we're actually getting calls by not our customers but people essentially who have kind of fallen into this trap, and that's hackers using more sophisticated techniques essentially to trick employees or accounts receivable or whoever into wiring funds to them. People think it can't happen to them, but it seems like it's happening more and more. So, Mario, I guess you want to kick it off and.
Yeah, so I mean, what we are seeing a lot is that these hackers are persistent with how they are trying to trick users. I mean, we obviously see a lot of these fake emails coming in looking like it's coming from the owner because they just changed their name. But what also has happened is if a user's email gets compromised, hackers get in there, they download all their emails, they're able to use like AI tools to figure out exactly who they're emailing, when they're emailing them, how much money is being exchanged. So they're able to then mirror that email. They actually copy it. And if they still have access to the mail server, they're doing what's called the man in the middle approach, and they are the ones receiving the email before the other people do, and they'll have full on
Mhm.
conversations, say something like, "We didn't receive the check. Please cancel it. Can you send us an ACH payment? We desperately need the money today." So they'll do stuff like that, and they kind of pressure. They make it seem like your customer or your vendor is getting very angry and that they need payment right away. So they put pressure on the end user, and the person will be scared or whatever, so they end up wiring or using ACH to send out the payments. Now the thing is, what we've also seen is even if you're able to get the hackers out of the system, what they do is they will create another domain. So they say they know it's coming from Mary at XYZ Construction and .com. They will create another domain that makes it look like it's XYZ Construction. It may be XYZ construction, but without the O, or instead of an O, it's a zero. So it makes it look like
Mhm.
you have to literally copy and paste it, change fonts to see what it looks like. And they will create an email that says Mary from XYZ construction, but with the zero. And they will continue that same email. They'll actually take that original chain of emails, paste it so it looks like you're continuing a
Mhm.
conversation, but meanwhile it's coming in as a new email. And honestly, it unless you really know what you're looking for, it will it will trick the most advanced of users, the most cautious of users. And you know at this point we're what we have been talking to clients and preparing them is to actually now get a more of a culture, more of a policy in place, besides just relying on being
Mhm.
cautious. So,
Right.
what we always recommend is, just like how you were to have two-factor authentication when you're logging into your bank account or when you're logging into your email, you have that extra layer of protection. What we advise
Mhm.
is like, be cautious. And if you get an email from an employee saying they want to change their direct deposit information or a customer or a vendor or a partner that says, hey, you know, whatever it is has to do with money, ACH, wiring, check, whatever, to pick up the phone and call them and just verify again. Hey, I got your email. I just want to go over the ACH instructions. This is the number I have. I want to make sure, you always want to verify it over the phone or in person.
Right. And I think, part of the problem is that, so a lot of people kind of just look at those mass emails that they get. There's misspellings. It's clear that it's not coming from the person. But then, like, the level up from there could be so sophisticated. Again, with AI, and the thing to remember is it may not be you that's essentially breached. It could be a client. It could be a vendor. And, that if they're, by using, let's say, like these AI tools, essentially they're looking at the history of like conversations. So they may reference something, they may reference a person, they may reference something that's really going on, a project, and because it's coming from the real person's email, there is really no way. The IT company could do everything they can essentially to protect the client, but when it comes to banking controls and payments, it's kind of outside of the scope. So this is becoming so sophisticated that, I mean, people are essentially falling for it that probably never would have. Like officers
Yeah, and
of
you
companies.
bring up a
Like,
good
it's not
point.
just.
Yeah, you bring up a good point because we're not only just protecting our clients, but it's hard for us to protect them from their own clients or their own vendors. We're not,
Mhm.
even though I would love to, we're not protecting every company out there, right? So if XYZ company is working with, Mass, Mutual or whatever, or, just another vendor, and that vendor gets compromised, you know, they're going to send an email on their behalf. You can't, we can't block, you know, any email that says ACH or, payment. We
Mhm.
can, but do you want us to block those types of emails? We're gonna be blocking some important stuff, and we can't, we can't block your existing clients either because you need to communicate with them. So the only other thing you can do
Mhm.
is be more cautious. And even if it looks okay, I've confirmed this is the email address. It looks like this is a continuing email chain that we've had before. Let me pick up the phone. Let me verify this information that was just received.
Yeah, and the
Because
frustrating thing
we
for
like I
us, let's
said,
say,
we can't block them.
yeah, and that's the frustrating thing for essentially our position. Our position is to protect the client. So, there's always another layer, another piece of security. But in this regard, it's almost like, regardless of how good you are as an MSP, like in what we're doing, your hands are tied when it comes to some of this stuff because we can't, like Mario said, if a client gets breached and you're getting an email from them, it's there isn't really, when it comes to banking, there isn't really much that that could be done. So let's just, if you can maybe talk for a minute outside of like security networks and pen test things to just kind of double and triple check their security. What could people do? Let's say they're working with ABC IT company. Like, what are some measures that they could take to to help prevent? Other than, I know you mentioned obviously doing the always verifying by phone.
Yeah, yeah. So you do obviously want to verify by phone. You want to make sure that
Is there
you're
anything else they can
protected.
do or no?
You want to have two. No, you want to
Oh,
make sure you have two-factor authentication enabled. You want to make sure that you have, your emails or your like Microsoft 365 monitored, with a live team. That you want to make sure your existing IT person is monitoring this. Is there certain rules in place? Like if a forwarding email or forwarding rule is created, are they being alerted? because that's super important. We received 2 emails today, or 2 alerts. Customers, created an email forward. We want to go and create, verify, like, hey, we did you create this email forwarding? A lot of times it's legit. In this 2 examples, they both were legit, but you want to make sure your IT company is seeing all the different, warnings in your environment. And if they're not, you need to have a conversation with them. Like, why are you not being, why don't we have this in place? What could we do to get this in place? Um, that's, stuff like that along, that is definitely a necessity now, because not only do you want to be cautious and you want your employees to be cautious and you want to verify everything, but you know what? It's like what we tell, people we sit down with. It's all about the different security layers. If one gets breached, or one, they get past the first layer, are they getting stopped at the second layer? Are they getting stopped at the third layer? Are they getting stopped at the fourth layer? If you only have one layer or 2 layers, then guess what? You're not really, it's less things that can stop these hackers. But if you have 5, 6, 7 layers, then the chances of one of these layers catching or stopping an event like this, can save. I mean, people we've sat down with upwards to $400,000.
Yeah. Yeah. And on that note, just to add something, when you do speak to your IT company, so monitoring is a very kind of loose word and it's thrown around a lot. And we've done so many assessments and pen tests where we go in and like, yeah, everything's being monitored, but monitored is like saying I'm secure, right? You need to understand, okay, what exactly is being monitored, what isn't, is this tested? If let's say there is a threat on your network, does your IT company respond? Like these are things, the rule in the email, any kind of rule changes. Yeah, I mean, the IT company could say we're monitoring, they may be, but the question is like, is there a level of, a layer of security there that's alerting them specifically for that? Any rule changes within, within Microsoft or within, G Suite that the IT company is getting alerted. That's right. That's
That
not
that
like
is
out of the
true.
box stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Alerting is a very loose word. You want to see if they have the security layers in place to maybe even lock an account if they see activity that they don't normally see. And it's better to lock an account and say, yeah, you know what, we saw some suspicious stuff. It was a false positive. We did lock your account. We're going to unlock it. It's better to have that conversation, and I much rather have
Right.
that conversation with a client or a user than saying, yeah, your email got hacked. You know, um, we weren't aware. And obviously Microsoft makes better tools to protect that than Google does. Uh, Google tries to kind of rely on their own ecosystem. And you know what? It's not going to be, it's not your IT person's fault that your email got hacked, but you do want to have that person, you know, that company say, hey, you know what? It does. There is some suspicious activity there. Let me look into it further.
Perfect. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
No, it's you need to have that conversation with them, and if they don't have it in place, you need to make sure they put it in place. If if you need a second opinion, you want to discuss anything, we're more than happy to help. Even if you're not an existing client, uh, and we can point you into the right direction. We can advise you in certain things that you may want to look into, or add on to your existing service with your IT people. Um, or if you're not with an IT person, we'd love to help you.
Yeah, and to add one more thing just before we go, when Mario sent out that kind of video message to all the clients, what was very interesting was the responses that were coming in. And we were seeing a lot that were saying, I know someone who essentially lost 150, 200,000. So it wasn't like there was just one. There was like quite a few, right? I mean, so
Yeah.
this is becoming a thing, and I think that one of the reasons that It is because the hackers know now with AI, it's very easy. You know, if you're getting an email and they're actually referencing a project or they're referencing a person or a hire or something like that, and it's coming from the real email address, it now you're just relying on, it has nothing to do with the IT company. Now you're just relying on the employee. And how many companies are actually doing video training and security training and all of this stuff? Not many. So this is definitely
Yeah.
worth a meeting at your company at the very least to just, just say, like, if there's anything to do with funds of any kind, you have to pick up the phone and verify.
Yeah. Even honestly, even if I mean, you don't have to verify it every time. If you're dealing with a company that is, that sending money to every month, and nothing has changed, the information's staying the same. But once there's a change, once you receive that initial email saying, "Hey, I didn't get the check. Can you wire it instead, or could you ACH it instead?" Then that's where you should be cautious. If it's somebody that you're dealing with on a monthly basis and stuff like that, then I think you're pretty good. Uh, but if there's any changes, like even an employee coming in and saying, "I changed my bank. I need to change, my direct deposit information." Okay, well, they need to come in person, maybe fill out a form, and verify it in person. Don't trust any email. Don't trust, even Teams if it's a message sent in Teams, because if that user gets compromised, that's one problem. If you're transferring money, that's a different problem. And one is going to be more costly than the other. And honestly, one thing too, we always recommend, even with existing clients or people that with like whatever, you have to have cybersecurity insurance. There's so much your IT company can do. We can protect somebody about 98%. Then the rest, the other 3%, is policies and procedures and cybersecurity insurance. If you don't have cybersecurity insurance, reach out to us. We have a very good company we can put you in touch with.
Right. All right, perfect. So if you don't have anything else, any last words? Well, that was the last words.
Those couple words were the last words. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, guys, you know how to reach out to us. Until next week, we'll see you soon.
Happy Cybersecurity Awareness Month,
Happy
everybody.
Cybersecurity
Take care.
Awareness.